Welcome to Stay Sane, where we talk about mind riveting topics while pushing around our own perspectives. And today we have my former karate instructor, Mr. Roger Dabney. I haven't seen you in person for a while now. When I got my black belt in what, fifth grade? One year
Gotcha.
ago?
Yeah, I think it was about that time. So it has been a long time since we've actually seen each other in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so I started karate very young because my brother was there, and I
Right.
remember I was like one of the youngest students, I believe.
You're very young. Yeah, you're very young when you started because you still was when your brother was taking karate, you still was coming in and out with your mom, bringing him into karate class. So I remember you from the beginning.
Yeah. And then sometime in blue belt, I took a break. I took
Yeah,
a break for 1 or 2 years, I believe. But
yeah.
I feel like that was the worst mistake that I've made in my
Oh,
entire sports career.
yeah.
I'm a very competitive person.
Right.
Very competitive person. And considering that I was on my way to be one of the youngest black belts, and then the 2 years that I took a break,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I
Yeah.
lost touch of it. And then I remember you were so nice to me when I came back because you let me start because you changed up a lot of your material.
Right.
Yeah,
hmm
so you let me start where I right back where I was.
We did a lot of karate schools don't do that. I do it because I want the students to feel like they can come back, even if they have to do a review, still come back at your belt level. But it might take you 2 or 3 months to do that review. It could take you 6 months to do the review.
Mm-hmm.
So why make you start over? Because basically what we're going to do is just get you back up to where you were before you left.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then so no need of changing belts. You just keep the same belt level and just keep moving forward. Yeah.
yeah. And how's it going with everything virtual? Are you still continuing?
We're teaching virtual now. So right now in the karate school, we probably have still about 55% of our students that are doing virtual training. So it's more like a hybrid school now because some students are coming in probably once or twice a week. A lot of them are coming like twice a week and then one day on Zoom, or either coming once a week and maybe 2 days on Zoom. But that's what we're doing now. All the beginners are in karate class. They're physical, they're in no Zoom for them, they're in class taking class.
Okay, gotcha. Because one of the things that I really liked about karate, because I'm not like I don't like technique as much. I don't like going on form, and one
Right,
of the things that really didn't rely on that much form was sparring. It was
right.
creativity, like you just go
hmm
jab, backhand. So,
Right.
how is that working for the virtual
Well,
people?
right now, we do a lot of sparring because of my background. So I like students to do a lot of sparring because one, that's really the only way you're going to do it. It's like trying to teach someone to swim, but you don't put them in the water. A little hard to teach you how to swim and hold your breath and understand all those things you're going to go through. But sparring is a big part of what we do. And a lot of schools are not really big into sparring because of the confidence level and bringing students up. I like to do it early so the students can understand and learn control so that we can do it more where they can get an understanding of why we do the other things in their class. So, and then for me, it built the confidence when I was coming through karate. So I know that sparring at an early age. Now, when I say sparring, I want everybody to understand that it's not where you go out and then everybody's just going all at each other. It's very controlled, learning movement, learning how to make contact with someone, learning your distance. So that's the most important part. And then once they do that, then they start to get a little bit more confidence. Then I say, okay, now we can go to here, a little bit more confidence. So you keep building that confidence where once you get to your intermediate classes, now you like to do it because you understand the purpose of it and
Yeah,
you're not afraid anymore. That's the big part. Most of the students is their fear level. Like when students come in, it's like, am I going to get hit? Yes, you're in karate class. You're going to get hit. Are you going to get hit hard is the most important part. Like we're going to control that, but you are going to get hit.
yeah. And that's
Yeah.
why we have like the padding that we wear.
Yes, we have a lot of protective gear where your head, your hands, even elbow pads you can get, your chest protection you can get. So, you're fully padded, but it's still somebody's coming at you and they're going to either kick you or punch you. It's still that fear of having that. But once contact is made and they realize that it's not going to hurt, then they get excited about
Yeah.
it.
That was one of my favorite parts because when I was testing for black belt, it just made me feel very confident. But one of the like third degree black belts said I
Right.
had one punch on me when we were sparring.
Yeah.
Like, really? I do really.
Right. Like you've been hit for real. Yeah.
I don't like some of the times I went well when I was with kids I went easy because I know
Right.
because even when I played other sports I
Mhm.
know that when I throw a football with my brother I know I have a strong arm so I
Right.
100%. But then when I was at the third degree black belts I went a little harder and then they were like whoa whoa whoa.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So that was definitely one of my favorite parts. But you did a lot. Did you do training when you were? Did you do karate training when you were a kid?
Yes. So I started at 14 years old. So I started in karate first. So I did a tremendous amount of karate training. When I say tremendous amount, it was a lot to me. But I did a lot of karate training at the beginning. And then after 1 or 2 years in is when I started on my kickboxing training. And my only purpose of that was my instructor had students that was there that were one world champion and state champions, but we were all the same size. So I was very fast, but not really that tough. And so I was like one of their sparring partners, but wasn't a lot of contact made to me. So it was gave me an opportunity to work on my techniques and get a little better doing the kickboxing versus the karate class. But I stayed in karate class the whole time until I earned my black belt. So I did a lot of training on the karate. The karate really helps because it gives you that foundation of what you want to do. And then if you're like sparring, like you say, hey, I really enjoy sparring. Well, then there's different levels of sparring and different things you can do to get to a certain level.
Yeah. You said you were 14. Were you put into karate or did you voluntarily?
I didn't volunteer at all. Yeah. So my mom put me in karate at 14 years old. I was very shy. And the reason why I got put in karate is because I was skipping one of my classes at school. And one of my classes when I was in school, it was where all the bullies was in class and we had to do certain things. And I just learned how to either come to class late or leave early. And then we had a parent teacher conference day, and my mom was like, well, I know my son is going to school, and I know he's here, and da da da. And the teacher said, well, he's here, and it's showing that he's here in school, but he's not in my class. And that's how we started the conversation of why you're not in the class. And I was like, well, mom, I'm getting bullied. And she was like, well, if you go to class, you won't get bullied because your teacher's there to protect you. And I said, well, the teacher's not protected. I said, it's up to me. I said, and right now, if I come to class late or leave early, I can get away and I can do my little things that I had learned to do. But that's how I got started.
I mean, that's really interesting. I told you before, but like I started
Right.
So, the time that I had a break or before I was a blue belt and I took a break, those are the times when I had like little interactions with my friends or people that I just didn't get along with.
Wow.
Squabble. And I know it's like I'm a very hands-on person. So
Right.
if you punch me, I won't think twice about just tackling you.
Right.
And that was me as a kid. But like obviously now if somebody punches me, I'll just be like, okay. So,
yeah.
I remember I was like maybe seven, and the kid was either my age or 1 year older than me, but he was smaller. And
right.
Yeah, he was a guy. So we just got in this really like weird conversation, and he was like getting irritated at me, and I was like really pissed at him, and I was already taller than him, so I was like, who do you think you are? Like, he just laid a hand on me, and he just punched me, and I was like,
wow.
Okay, I mean, I don't have any gear on. I mean, okay.
Then it changes.
Yeah. Then I was like, okay, okay, and then he was like, oh no, I'm sorry, and I was like, okay, but I never laid a hand back on him. The only time that I actually like punched somebody or like harmed technically somebody.
I understand.
Was my brother.
Was your brother, right?
Yeah, because if I go out and punch somebody, because this was at a party.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this was at a party, and it was like all my friends, and it was like a boys versus girls type thing. So all the girls were in one room, like
one room, right, yeah.
And the guys were coming back in and forth, in and out of the room.
The other room, yeah.
We just got really pissed, and we just like got up to him, and he was like, and we were like, "What are you doing?" And then he laid a hand on me, and I was like, "Okay, I mean, you're scared, so get out."
Right.
Yeah. And you said like you were being bullied. Is that
That was a big part of why I got in karate at the beginning because, I mean, one, I graduated from high school at 125 pounds. So, at high school, I went to Patrick County High School, but we have a lot of big basketball and football players that was there. So, I mean, I was one of the smaller kids in class. One of my friends that was in my neighborhood, he was probably about 6'2", 175. He was in martial arts and he was training. And so I started to go to the school that he was at and kind of walking to the karate school with him because my mom used to take me all the time. And then she was like, hey, son, if I'm late sometimes, can you walk home with him? So she talked to him and he was like, yeah, I mean, he was much older than me also. And so he would take me back and forth and I would be riding with him. And he was one of the kickboxers. And that's what kind of helped out too, because we were walking home one day. His little brother was training in karate and someone kind of stopped and, we were in the road playing as kids and kind of gave us all a hard time. And he ended up getting into a confrontation with him. And when I saw him put karate on that guy, that's when I knew that I needed to stay in karate and I needed to learn that. I was like, if I could do that, I wouldn't be afraid. But there was a lot to it. Like I didn't realize how much training you would have to do to get to that level. But I knew that was that one thing I wanted to do. I was like, man, if I could be calm in a situation like this and be able to kick a punch or move or run or whatever, or block, I said, then I wouldn't be so afraid. Like I could maneuver around in school and do other things like I wanted to do. So knowing that he was a kickboxer, and then we had some students that was there as, champion kickboxers, I really didn't want to kickbox. I just wanted to learn the skill. Like I didn't want to compete. I just wanted to learn the skill, but I ended up competing anyway,
Yeah. And if you weren't bullied, do you think you would have done karate?
No.
Well, do you have any other interests? Like, did you play any other sports?
I mean, I played football. I played basketball for high school. Yeah, I mean, so I like sports, but I wasn't a rough, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a tough competitor.
You were one of the smaller guys?
I said I was small. Yeah. So, I mean, I like competition, but it wasn't like that was my main thing, And then once I got into amateur kickboxing, I sat down with my coach and he goes, you have a talent to do this, but if you're going to get to a level where you can move to like where the championship levels are, he says, you got to dedicate everything to it. And you're going to have to work on your mental part of it. Physically, you're good. Mentally, you have that drive, but this is fighting and this is kickboxing. And you're going to be in some boxing schools. And he says, and they're not going to take it easy on you. So it's not like karate class where somebody's going to stop you, somebody's going to control it. He goes, it's different. There's no, it's control, but it's not going to be where somebody's always there every time you take a punch that they would stop. So I had to get used to that. That took me a long time because even though I like the competition, getting hit really hard is something that you have to work through. Not everybody is prepared or geared to do that,
Yeah. So as a kid, if you look at my legs and stuff, I have scars because I was not afraid to like go and dive on just plain gravel.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm like that's why I play softball and I play basketball.
Right.
The thing with me is I'm one of the few girls that play. So yeah. So in my friend group and stuff.
Right.
I'll get hit and I'll come. And I'll be like, you guys want to go play like a game of basketball or something? And they'll be like, no, let's go watch a movie. Like, the times that they do want to play, it's like, let's play.
You're more physical when they was.
Yeah, and now I have to go easy on them, and I can't work.
At a certain level, right, yeah.
So, I mean, and I want to say this, but another aspect is, like, you were one of the smaller players in football. And
right.
I feel like that takes it's a mental aspect because
it's all mental, right? Because you're looking at the size, and then when somebody's coming at you and they're like this, you're going, well, it's going to hit me hard. Not realizing that person might not be as strong as you, or you might be stronger or faster. So, and that was my coach kept saying. He's saying, yes, he's bigger, but you're faster. So if he never puts his hands on you or grab you, or if you're not too close where he can dive and get you and tackle you, then you're going to be fine. He said, so take my advice, run really fast. And that's what I did.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
me and my family, we're shorter. We're on the shorter
Hmm.
side. And one of the things that it's our goal, but I mean it might or might not be
Right.
accomplishable, is to be tall.
Hmm.
Because in society, celebrities that are females, that's
Right.
their goal. They're on the taller side. And
Mhm. Most. Yeah, I understand. I know where you're going.
yeah,
Yes.
like I'm 5'2" right now.
Okay.
I would hope to grow a little more. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, when a taller batter comes up in the box, I mean, my coach tells me to play back or something.
Right. Right. Right.
So it's definitely a mental toll, but it's also the idea of the shorter players are faster. So
You still have an advantage. You just got to know how to do it. I mean, it's the same thing as when students come into karate class. You
mhm,
know, a lot of them. I mean, we don't really get. I mean, the karate schools are designed to bring kids in that are not that athletic kid, not great at soccer. Baseball can't really hit the ball really hard. I'm afraid the ball's coming too fast, and so karate attracts the students that are not good at playing other sports. So when they get here, now it's time to build those guys up as they go. Girls or guys, whoever's in your class going through. I mean, and that's a big part of it because I remember I was that kid. But once I started to earn some titles and do some certain things, I realized that size had really nothing to do with it. It was my mind. And then when like you just said, if you watch things on TV, everybody's tall. If you watch things on TV, they're bigger, they're stronger. Everything is geared toward bigger, stronger, faster. And so you, at some point, you go, well, I'm never going to be able to do that because I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not tall enough. Okay. When the good part about karate is that you don't really have to be. It helps in any sport. I mean, 100% that it helps, but you don't have to be. And once you can get it in their mind to say, you don't have to be the biggest and the tallest to be the baddest in the room, to have the most confidence in the room, then it changes. Because one of my instructors, he was 5'2". He was the best in the school. Then I said, "You're the shortest in the school." That's what I said to me myself. I said, and every time I watched him spar or work a drill or teach a class, I was like, "You had the best, pretty much the best skill level here, and you did shortest." I said so, and then I would watch the taller guys go against him. He would maneuver around, he would hit him real hard, and I was like, "Okay, now I don't have to worry about it." So now I'm gonna erase size out of my head, and now I'm gonna work on my skill because I saw it. And I was a lower belt level when I saw him, and I was like, man, I wonder if I can get there.
yeah.
Hard work.
And you said something about titles, like you earned a lot of titles. Was that
Right.
in kickboxing?
That
And
was that was in kickboxing. Yeah. So I was the number one amateur kickboxer. So I won that as I was a kickboxer when I first started. I was an amateur, and then once I graduated from high school, I turned professional. Right out of high school, I went pro.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. Oh my God, that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And I remember as a kid, I used to see you, and I just saw you as my instructor because I didn't
Right.
put together the idea. And then I grew older, and then you started talking to my brother about like football getting,
Well, right. Right.
and then it hit me, man, he was a professional.
That it happened.
Yeah,
That's part of it because a lot of students come in the first time you meet me in the karate school, I'm your karate instructor. So we're working on the focus and the discipline, and we're working on all that. I'm talking to your parents, saying how good you're doing in school, at home, and so you forget as we're working that the guy that's teaching me how to kick and punch and move around, like he was a professional doing this. He was ranked number 10 in the world at this sport. Like he was one of the elite players doing his time competing in what he's teaching me. So he has a lot of experience, but you don't think about it because I'm your karate instructor and I have a karate uniform on. You don't see me in the ring or boxing around. So it's hard sometimes to put that together for a person to get the perspective to go, he's my instructor, but he also accomplishes these things. So now if they would have met me first as a fighter and had a chance to watch me compete and then came to the karate class, it would have been different because when I was younger, I was still competing when I was working at some of the other Christ schools I was teaching for. And the students first saw me compete. And then they're like, hey, the guy's competing, they're doing all these things. He also teaches at the Christ school here. And so they would all come to the Christ school. So for them, it was different because they knew they were learning from a kickboxing champion. The students that didn't see that, they were, well, he's my karate instructor. So why do you guys keep talking about the other things that he's doing? Because he's my instructor. And so it was a different perspective as he was going through. And even the kids now, I have to kind of take them in the office and say, hey, you know, I used to do this, right? They go, oh, yeah, really? I say, yeah. So it's interesting.
And if you use, okay, so karate has like different branches to it. Like you said before, like if you like sparring, you can go into kickboxing.
Right.
And say you like the forms. Is there like a competition that you
the karate, that's where I started. I didn't do the karate forms because most of the karate tournaments you go to, there you can do what they call point sparring. Then they have weapons. Then they have traditional forms. And so most of the students, you know, you would compete in all three if you had the skill set for it. Some were very fast and like the action of the sparring, they would do that. And then some students would just form competitors. I trained with a lot of form competitors coming through, and I learned a lot. Like they were really, like they had to dedicate themselves as much as we did as far as their fighting. And that's what I was like, wow, like you guys are training as much as what we're doing just to go out there for 2 minutes and work on your traditional forms and you could compete against it. Yeah. So that's when I gained a different respect for that because I was like you guys are training hard, like 4 or 5 hours a day to go and compete for 2 minutes. Yeah. So
I see kids in my school. Well, when we were obviously in person, in elementary school, we had this thing called field day.
Yes.
Yeah, and some of the kids from maybe Master Cho's or like different areas of like Taekwondo.
Right. Yep.
Present like a technique, and it would last like 2 minutes, but like you can see that they did a lot of preparation for that.
A lot of practice. Yeah, a lot of practice. Yeah. You know what? Because you're a competitor in your mind, like you're you know, you would actually, even though you were physical, you'd have liked doing forms because once you can look at it and not see what you might saw, the dancing part of it, I'm not going to make any once you could have worked with a group that were form competitors and you would have saw how physical and in shape and competitive they were, it would have changed your mind because then you'd have been like, okay, they're like me, but they're doing that. So I need to do that. And then you would have realized how hard it was to do some of the moves and it would have changed you because the group that I trained with, I was a fighter, always been a fighter. They were at a school that I was at, which was a very high level school at the time. They was probably ranked like 1 or 2 in the world. And I was there. So I was like, you guys are out there competing against each other. I respect you, but it's not like what we did. And I go back to what I said at the beginning, until I went to watch him train. That changed everything. And you would have liked that because you have to be very physically strong to do the moves. Yeah. And it's very challenging because a lot of the high-tech kicks and spins, it would have challenged, it would have pushed you to the end. Yeah.
I mean, I like a good challenge as much as the next.
Oh, you'd have had a challenge.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, so obviously you need some type of background in it. Like you need to have some athletic ability, right?
Yes.
Like you can't be afraid of getting hit.
So if you're going to be a competitor in any sport, one, you have to have that drive. 2, if it's a physical sport, soccer players, basketball players, football players, hockey, field hockey, girls play. I mean, and in boxing, in kickboxing, it's a lot of contact and it's not for everybody. Like you physically have to be able to have certain characteristics about you that works. Cannot take a punch, and successfully recover really fast from it. Can I punch hard? Can I kick hard? You know what I mean? Can I build my body up strong enough where I can last for a long time doing the competition, because it's not just 2 minutes. You got to do 3 or 4 rounds of competition. So I had a competition team here for years when I first moved back to Richmond, and we won between 11 national and state titles and one world title. And out of all the kids that competed, the first thing I would tell the parents is say, they might be great in karate class, but this is not karate class. Like this is real competition. And not saying that your child cannot do it or work to a level, because I didn't start off as a champ. I really had to work a lot to get there. I said, but there's one thing that I learned. It takes a different type of mindset to be able to do it, because every day you walk in there, there's a huge fear factor. Like you're going to get hit doing your training. Basketball, I can, play, I could play a lot of basketball and all the things you do for us, dribbling and shooting and, playing defense. It's physical, but nobody is out there with the intent to hit you. And, in kickboxing and even in karate class, once they get to a certain level, the intent is to hit the person. And that's when it changes, because that's what you practice on every day, getting hit or hitting someone else.
And one of the things that I think is really important in really any sport, considering like chess, even chess, debating, the mindset that you need to have and that I hold is a narcissistic mindset.
Well, I can see where you would go with that, because it's, sometimes being a champion or being good has to be somewhat in a selfish way, where I'm the best, this is who I am, this is how I feel, everybody needs to know. But you can do it in a way. I'm going to give you an example. There were a couple of guys that I came through with that were like that. It was about them, all about them. And they got to a state level, maybe a regional level, but they never made it to the international level. Because even though when you play a sport that you're depending on yourself, tennis, that it's about you. You have to think about that, but you need a coach. And your coach is your guy. Like when I was a fighter, I had a strength conditioning coach, and then I had my trainer that trained me with kicking and punching and blocking and defense and all that. You would never make it without them. And when I changed coaches, I didn't do as well. So then I realized that that coach is your guy. You're as good as your coach. All of my fighters, during the times of our training, we got a lot of titles that we've won. There were 3 times that I was either had to travel or not there, and they lost their fights. Which was good about is that we had an opportunity to sit down and talk about why. And I said, you guys have been winning all of your fights, doing great. I said, why do you think you lost without me? I said, and before you answer, it's not about me. But why do you think you lost without me being there? And of course, where the guy was better. We went through this. Well, my other coach told me this, and you would have told me that. So once we got through all that narrative we was going through, I was like, when we're training together, sometimes when you're out there competing, I'm coaching you. But I'm coaching you from a level that I have a world-class experience on being inside what you're doing. So now when that guy is moving around, I can tell you, hey, I need you to move left and throw this, need you to shift that. Say, so you're doing the physical part, but I'm mentally guiding you like a video game. I say, I'm mentally guiding you through. And then when you come to the corner, I'm teaching you how to relax. And I'm telling you exactly what to look for. I said, you don't have the experience to look for that. I've given that to you. So without me there, you're not as good, because you don't have my mind with that experience to guide you. And I said, in fighting, that becomes very important, because if the person is better than you, then what are you going to do? Kick faster, punch harder? Okay, let's try that and see if it works. And so, you really understand that, yes, when you walk in there, you got to have the confidence of a person that's like that it's about me. But deep down, that person that's giving you that water when you come into the corner, they're as either more or as much important as you. And once you get that clear, then it's good that you can say, okay, now I can be a champion in my head and I can go out there and beat my chest, because I understand where I need to be in my head. Okay. It needs to be about me because I'm competing by myself, but I can't do it without that person behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
And when I meant like the narcissistic mindset,
Mm-hmm.
he was also referring to I had like a debate competition this weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, not to brag, but
Yeah.
I did get the best delegate.
There you go.
And one of the things that I really had to emphasize there was I'm one of the middle schoolers in the midst of high schoolers.
Right.
And that's also when I think about, because I'm one of the shorter players in my group of basketball players as well. So I kind of have to have that overconfidence in my head. Obviously, to succeed in this society and to succeed in
Right.
life, you do need to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't show that out there. But in the debate competition, nobody was listening to me. Nobody was listening to my ideas.
Right.
And it was one of those where you pretend like it's the government, like we were talking about the idea of Pearl Harbor. And
Okay.
they were listening to me because I didn't have that much power behind me because I
Mhm.
was a general for army.
Okay.
Everybody else was like president.
Right.
So I really had to be like, hold on, 1 second, and kind of stop the conversation and bring in my idea. Because
Mm-hmm.
one of the mine, because my brother is a pretty good debater.
Right.
He came in the middle and told me, "You're not doing so well because you're not thinking that your idea is the most important."
Right.
If you don't stop them and tell them, "Wait, what you're saying is making sense, but this might help more."
Mm-hmm.
So, in that idea, it would help more to think more of yourself in that sense, and
Mm-hmm.
also it would work on literally sports as well because
It could work, but
you gotta be careful.
let because you have to be able to control it. I mean, it's a physical part that you do, then there's a mental part. If you can't control your mental, which is 80%, yeah, I have competed against a lot of guys that I was afraid of because of how they carried themselves. You know, their look, their physique, how they talk, their swagger. And I have beat myself up in the head preparing to fight for them because I was like, I'm not that cool. I can't do that, until I hit them. And then it all changed. I was like, oh, so you're doing this to build your own self up because deep down inside, you're not as strong. And one of my fighters had to fight a guy like that. And I said, let me tell you, I said, every guy that worried me with his swag, how good he is, and we're doing interviews. I said, I knocked out every last one of them because I realized one thing. They were doing that because they didn't have the confidence. See? So I understand where you're going because you have to know that your idea is right. Let's look at what I did. Open up a karate school, doing what I do now, have my own karate system. At some point, I had to tell all the grandmasters, mine is better than yours, right? Okay, but it came from a confidence level, but a respect level. So, you can go in there sometimes with too much confidence too, because I went into my U.S. title fight with too much confidence and I lost.
Yeah.
So, I talk about that story a lot because it was a time that I said, now I have to show the world how bad I am, that I'm the guy and y'all need to pay attention to me and my training. And because I do things, not traditional for our training. So I'm the right one. Y'all need to follow me. This is it. And I lost because I got too much into me. I thought that I was the reason why I was doing those things. And I was overconfident and I lost. I never did it again. And I teach my fighters, I said, I want you to feel like you're the king of the world, but you got to be careful because you got to control it. And if you can't control it, then you're no good at it. You know what I mean? Yeah, then you're no good. I mean, you can always be confident, but it's a control thing. Look at a lot of my students here that come in and they're the confident ones. I'm doing good in school. I do great at home. What happens when they spar? Exactly. Now that kid that can't pay attention and can't stay online, you see them in class, the ones I'm always talking to the parents. As soon as we say go doing sparring, that confident kid is crying and the other kid is having fun. So it's different types of confidence that you got to focus on. But I understand what you mean about you have to be confident in yourself, and you have to trust that what you say is right, and you have to be willing to fail. If you're not afraid to fail, you'll make it.
Yeah. One of the things that I do is outside of the court. Outside of the court, I'm the most humble person you'll see. I'm not going to brag about myself.
Mhm.
I mean, as a matter of fact, I'll help you. I'll help you get better.
But game time, you can't be like that. Right. See,
I am the king of the court.
Right. You can't be like that when you play. That's it. Yeah. But that's different. That's being it. See, think about what you just said. See, you are controlling.
Yeah.
Because you said before the game, I'm humble. Hey, I'm gonna give you a high five. How you doing? I want you guys to have a great job. Everybody be safe. Until the whistle blow or the bell rings, then you're like, okay, now I'm gonna rip your head off. But once I rip your head off, I'm gonna give it back to you, and I'm gonna fix your hair. We'll be friends. So that's just having that, competitive spirit where you can turn it on. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. I mean, look at a lot of players that they're like that. They can turn that switch on, but they can also turn it off.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a really good. I feel like that's a good idea. I feel like that's one of the almost like the keys to success, because I've seen that in boxers, not kickboxers, but because I mean,
because I learned a lot of mine from boxing, so I understand.
Yeah. So, there's this boxer named Anthony. I can't remember his last name at the moment, but he holds that policy, and he's one of the only ones outside of the rink. You're my best friend. Not my best friend, but like we can be friends. But as soon as I go in, I'm 100%. I'm not gonna pity you at all.
Let me tell you, 99.99.99% of all boxers, they're like that because we're risking our life to go out there, and it's not about friends. I have competed in a match against friends that I had trained with, and I knew that coming through. My trainers always say, "Hey, you got to be careful because some of the guys in what we call your stable that's training with you, you guys are close to the same weight division. You might end up at some point because of your skill set fighting against each other." I have fought against some of my best friends I'm friends with now. And when the bell rang, we both decided to say, we're going to compete at the highest level that we can because that's why we're here. Whoever wins, wins. Whoever loses, lose. But after we finish, we'll go back to being friends. But when that bell rings, you don't know me and I don't know you. So that's what you have to do. And to be good at any sport, that's a big part of it, But it's still controlled because think about what we did. Before, we good. During, we're not. After, we have dinner. You know what I mean? So, and again, that's having a good sportsmanship too, because, a competitor, you don't have to be sorry for competing. Someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. If you can't take losing, don't compete. You know what I mean? Because if you compete against me, I'm going to be at the highest level possible. My goal is to destroy whatever's in the way. And if you're in the way, okay, sorry, but don't do it. Like I tell the kids in here, I said, why are you going to run track? And then when you lose, you're a sore loser because the guy's faster than you. Like you're going to don't do it. Or either compete in a way where you do it at your best. You go, you know what? I got second place because last year I was 8th place. So I feel good, but in a lot of kids are like that now. You know what I mean? I see it in sports. I see, a lot of the parents that are doing certain things on the field, and we won't get into that too much. But, and I understand it because I've been a competitor. I've been a coach. I'm a parent. So I'm one of those parents that stand on the sideline going, no. Yeah. So I understand it. But at the same time, to be a top level competitor, to be top level in anything in life, you got to have the spirit that you're going to be a shark and everybody else is just there for you to eat.
Yeah. And it's underestimated how good, truly good professionals are.
Yeah. The mindset. So one thing that it teaches you, and that's what I try to get across to students take karate, I said, no, karate's fun. Karate's good. But if you learn what it takes to be focused and disciplined, if you try to compete at your highest level, you'll learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. You need to you need to do martial arts long enough where it reveal who you are deep inside. And that's when you start to grow.
Yeah.
But you don't start to grow until you start to fail. And that's where people get afraid. I don't want to fail. Okay. You're not going to grow.
You're not going to grow.
You're not going to grow. No.
And I learned that the hard way. I learned that the very, very hard way. Because, a lot of this relates to my life playing sports. Because I played basketball and softball. But when I played softball, I played recreational.
Uh-huh.
And then I moved to travel. Now, I was the best one in recreational.
Yeah, now you're average, right?
I did good. I did good at tryouts, but then the reason I made the team that I'm on right now, is because they needed more shortstops.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, because this is my first travel team, so right. I'm behind everybody else right now because I'm 12 years old. I should be third or fourth travel team.
Okay.
Yeah. So as of now, I am the starter. But it was a rough ride because at the beginning I wasn't, and I was like, man, what am I gonna do? I don't play. This is my first year playing travel. What did they expect me to do? And one of the key things is watching.
Yes.
Yeah, because I realized I wasn't sitting down low enough, and that's why all the balls were going through my glove.
Okay.
And I kept watching. Oh, she's faster than me. Okay, shuffle. I worked on it at home. My dad threw me tennis balls, which go faster.
Mm-hmm.
And
right. So your reaction time is faster. Right.
So I kept working like that, and now I'm the starter. But obviously, there's going to be ups and downs, more ups and downs. When I took a break for winter break, I shouldn't have done that, but I took a break, and a lot of this technique stuff that I don't like, but I spent time working on, I lost a little bit of it, and it's hard to get it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do your girls play any sports?
My youngest one was a level 8 gymnast.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So when she came through, she started gymnastics at about 5-6 years old, and she competed till she was about 16. But that was she started at an hour 3 times a week. No, well, an hour a day for 3 times a week. And then her last 4 or 5 years of gymnastics, it was 3 hours a day, 4 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're dedicated. You're living there. My oldest daughter, she's in the theater and doing stuff like that. Yeah. But still a lot, a lot of time, a lot of work into it as you go. But yeah, and I should tell her the same. I said, if you want to be good, you got to reach deep inside, and failing has to be what you're shooting for all the time. You're a gymnast, so you're on a beam that's 5 foot up, 4 foot off the ground, and 4 inches. Yeah. Try doing a flip and hitting that on your shoulder, and then your coach said that was great, but we need to do it again because you need to keep your head this way, with that pain in your head, knowing that as soon as I leave my feet, that pain comes there really quick to remind you of a mistake. Yeah, but again, it's fear. It's fear and it's confidence. So if you don't think that you're good, you're gonna fail really fast in that sport.
And with all that training, like I'm sure you did the same amount of training to get to your professional level, but you really had to know what you were gonna do. Like once you spent that much time, you can't go back.
That's interesting because you know what? I never thought I was gonna be a professional fighter. I just wanted to compete at a level higher than what I was doing as an amateur. I was like, because my mom was like, are you going to go to school, son? Are you going to do? I said, well, Mom, I can always go back to school. But I know that from watching and from studying that youth is going to play a big part competing as a professional. As I get older, my skills are going to start to diminish. I said, so I have a window of opportunity. And so I said, you know what? I'll do it for a year. If I do good, I'll continue. If not, then I'll move on. Then I'm going to do it another year. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going, So, it's one of those things that I didn't figure it out late because I was clear on my goals, but I didn't think that I was standing as long as I did because of how many students or competitors I saw get injured. Like when you're in the back in the locker room, you see what people don't see on TV, what they don't go through. And that changed it because you know that you're going to get injured win or lose. When you finish, you're injured. And that injury sometimes is for the rest of your life. But nobody sees that because you come out and you're doing like this, and you go out and you raise your hand, you got all these belts on you, and you're in great shape. People's like, oh, he's great. But they don't see what happens behind the scenes. And it's a lot. It's a lot of rehab that I'm continuing to do now. Like all my training, I mean, it was good. And I'm excited that I accomplished what I did. But I have to train every day, just rehabbing and keeping where I can do my martial arts on a certain level every day. So that was the price I paid, you know?
That's one of the scariest things about playing sports, specifically at a younger age, because I've seen some of my friends like tear their like leg muscles or something,
Yeah.
or like
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like hurt their spine, and I'm like, what? What? Can you play? Can you still continue to play? And they're like, yeah, I can recover in a few months, maybe, maybe not. And I was
And
like,
they
what?
don't.
Does that not scare you? Do you not want to do this for the rest of your life? Is this not a possibility?
It
So
is. And that's any sport. I mean, look how many stories. I mean, because I've had the opportunity for over 40 years to work with a lot of kids, I have you would be surprised on even some of the students that was in your class, the injuries that they have sometimes accidentally had, sometimes just not paying attention. But you'd be surprised how many students stop karate because of injuries at a young age. And mom was like, well, his ankle is going to be only 50% now, whereas he can't do this now. You know what I mean? It's a lot. And sometimes it could be just riding your skateboard. Sometimes it could be climbing a tree and I fell. But there's a lot of injuries. I mean, so the ones that make it through, you know, hats off. Be grateful because there are a lot that didn't.
yeah, and I've seen like a pattern. I feel like those are in the people that are either really competitive or really careless.
Right.
And I'm one of those with really competitive energy. And the idea of, again, like maybe I dove for a ball and now
Right.
my ankle's hurting. Can I play the rest of the game?
Right.
And like the competition level increases. And when I was in karate before I took a break,
Right.
love that competitive energy there because I had the set of friends that I was competing to get a belt higher than
About right. Yeah, as you was going. Right. Yeah.
friendly competition, but it was still like I want a belt. I want the blue belt before.
Right.
Yeah. And again, I hate myself so much for that, but I was on a set road to do well in karate, and then I'm pretty sure it was just like a discipline issue
Yes.
because I didn't want to do it, and I didn't have that urge to push myself. 'Cause
Right. Right.
I did want to do it originally after seeing my brother.
Yeah.
But
Right.
at one
Right.
point,
I cut that off.
but at one point it was like my parents were just taking me, and I liked it, but it was that competitive energy. It got to me at one point.
Right. Right.
I didn't have that age nor the discipline to push through.
And you know, sometimes, sometimes it works like you didn't, and being younger. So what I try to explain to students and parents when they come in now is that parents sometimes have to make that decision for you because you were too young to have a reference on why you were doing karate. Now, if you think about it, being as competitive as you are right now, think about if you would have stayed without taking a break and really got into what we did. And not only got into what we did, let's say that you would have stayed long enough and you would have started to question me about things, right? Because now you're competitive, right? So you say, oh, well, now we got, a karate instructor. Then you go, wow, well, he competed. Well, let me talk to him. I'm a competitor. And now think about at that age, if I would have been able to share with you what I do with some of my students, because I still have a lot of students outside of karate that I've had for the last 20, 24 years, that if they're coming through and they're young athletes, I work with them. I do it outside of karate because that's what I did, And so you didn't know that. So if you'd have known that, you'd have said, you think about how far ahead you could have been, because I would have been able to share with you, if you want to be a competitor, There are certain things you have to be able to do. Number one, you got to be able to do this. That discipline and being able to stay to what you're doing, stay on course. You got because think about it. It takes about 20 hours to really learn or to do something that's new. It takes 10,000 hours to master it. Most people end up somewhere in between. So you got to figure out where you want to be. Okay. So if you'd have looked at it like that, we could have talked, could say, look, you can stop, you can quit. That's your choice. If you're not having fun, you don't have to do it. But the thing is that you're missing the opportunity at a young age to teach yourself what it takes to drive through and to be a winner. And being a winner means that there are going to be a lot of sad days. There's going to be a lot of days you want to do it. And there's going to be a lot of days where you think you're just wasting your time. There's many times I'll go to the gym. I was like, why am I doing this? Like, what am I going to get out of this at the end? Until you win a title, you go, okay, that's why I was doing it, because there are going to be some low times and there are going to be some, but it taught me the discipline to stick to something. You know what I mean? And that's what I always teach the students and teach my kids. I said, think about something that you want to do. Like my youngest one, I said, pick 3 gymnasts that you love. Dabney dolls, I want to be like that. I said, read her books. Go interview her so she can tell you how many hours it took for her to do that one skill, how many years it took to mature to the level to do it in an international or world class where you wouldn't fall off the beam. That's what you talk to her about, so she can tell you what it takes. She said, you know what? Stick to it for 5 years and then come see me, because that's really what it's going to take. But then what did you do? Oh, I want to do it 5 years. She goes, well, you're not going to be able to do it then. See, so you don't have that drive anyway. Yeah. And that's what karate, that's why sticking to it and going to black belt, that's why it becomes so important, because once you get older, you realize that if you want to reach your goal, you need short goals because you need to build your confidence as you go. But you need to have a long goal that you at least do in something in your life. You know what I mean? So you can go, okay, I can accomplish this. I know it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. And
that helps.
Yeah. And the reason I believe, for me, not having interest in some ideas and aspects is
right,
because I like to be rare, and that comes in handy at times, but at times it doesn't really go over well. So when everybody's pushing the same idea, I don't want to do it. But now if people don't like it, and if people are like, they don't help me with it, like sports.
Right.
My parents completely like devoted all the time to training.
Well, and I mean, it comes down to, you got to think, 90% of the people every day wants to be comfortable. 5 or 10% want to be uncomfortable and do those things that nobody's ever done, or go in a different direction, And, I remember doing an interview when I was younger, and somebody interviewed my mom. And it was like, "What? How was Roger as a kid?" And she was like, "He was different. He was. I don't know why or what." She goes, "I can't give it to you like he's different because he does this." He goes, "But his mindset was different. Like he wanted to do something that you told him he couldn't do, or he was going to do something that he thought that nobody else did, so he's going to do it." I mean, that's how I made it as far as that was what I did. That's why I created my own system. I was like, well, why can't I do it? Yeah. Well, you're not A, B, and C. I said, but why? Yeah. The person, did somebody tell Bruce Lee he couldn't do it? I mean, so you got to think about it. I mean, think about somebody as famous as Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, all those guys, one day they had to go, well, I'm going to do it like this no matter what you do, and I'm going to go on. I'm not going to follow the old traditional masters. I'm going to do it my way and see what happens. Yeah. That's why we're here now. I mean, that's why I'm taking karate. That's why he took karate, because I got motivated by watching those guys. You know what I mean? But they didn't do it traditionally. They went their own route. And
I think that's exactly what creates successful people. That's why.
It is. And not everybody's like that. It's a weird, small group that's like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Depending on how, everybody dreamed when they were a kid.
Right.
My parents dreamed of coming to America. My parents dreamed of being doctors.
Yes.
Yeah. And they weren't able to achieve those goals. And And I know some of my older friends that wanted to be pilots when they grew up. They wanted to be actors when they grew up. And they were idealistic when they were a kid, but again, the mindset changes, and now they want to be realistic. They want to be an IT worker. They want to be somebody in marketing. So the idea changes, and the rare few that do want to stick to what they're doing or do want to stick to their idealistic mindset
Right.
are the top 2%.
It's a small, because let's think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And even I tell the students that come here. I had a parent one day. Me and the parent had a long talk, and it's funny because the parent, we're three very good friends now, and now he had kids on his own, and he goes, like, why do you tell kids they can't accomplish something when you're their karate instructor? You're supposed to be building confidence. I say I want them to be realistic about what they do, even now. I said I mean, it's good, and I do the same. I'm a parent. You can do anything you want. I mean, the reality of it is that you can't.
Well,
If I wanted to be a basketball player, I could have, but I couldn't jump that high, right? Not that tall. Okay. And so no matter how hard I would have tried, I didn't have the attributes to do that, no matter how much passion I had for it.
but Mr. Dabney, there are shorter basketball players,
Uh-huh.
but they still make up for it in like dribbling. So if you wanted to,
See, this is the thing. There are some great basketball players out there that are very short, very talented. How many? Let's think about how many. See, because I've done a little work on that when I was coming through, and I had to say, before I stand out in front of these students or these parents and tell them, I'm gonna do some research. And if you do your research, look how many that's ever done it. That percent is like 3%. But what happens is that we take that 3% because, oh, but such and such did it, you can do it. Look at him. Yeah, but look how many of that guy, basketball player, under 5'5", tried to do it because they had the passion to do it, they had the drive to do it, and never made it. And so the 3% that make it, we always go, see, you can do anything. Look at what he did, stick to it. Yeah, they don't tell you that there was 30 million of him that failed.
but it was also the 30 million that stopped midway. I mean, there's a whole group that stopped midway,
Right.
They didn't do enough. They didn't fully commit to it. Because if you are one of the 3%, or if you are one of the few people that are trying to do something that's not in the ordinary, then you gotta commit to it. Like, you gotta post videos of yourself and like publicize it.
Right.
There's different aspects to it. And as a kickboxer yourself, you probably have to do some marketing to get into where you are.
Oh, you had to do a lot. But let me tell you what I learned on the way. See, this is what I learned on the way. I've competed against some guys. I've had some guys in my camp, and I've met some coaches. I've met a lot of fighters. I've been in, like over 40 years, and I still love the sport. I still work with fighters. And till today, I can tell you, even keeping up with boxing and kickboxing and the UFC now, which is really big, those guys, those competitors and the females now are extremely good. Like they are some of the top out there now. I mean, they have gone to a level now where there is no return. Like they will be the elite now. Yeah, so you no longer can go, well, this is the women's division, this is the men. That for UFC, that's almost over. I mean, they're that good, and their training and their knowledge, it's amazing. Okay, but with all that being said, that 3%, if you would sit down sometime, they got a chance to talk to the 3%. They're so rare in the way they do things or how they physically are built that they were able to overcome certain things because they had that 1% of something in their body or mind that we just don't have. See? And you can't change it. See, you can't change it. You know what I mean? Let's look at, and some of it is genetic because I've talked to enough doctors and enough people in the industry that says, why did that person did and this person not, with this type of drive and that type of mindset? Like, how can you not accomplish something with that passionate mindset? Huh? And, you know, in sports, I've heard a lot of coaches say it, you know. Remember, you ever heard this? Some they say, well, that person has the it factor.
Yeah.
See? So it doesn't matter how hard you try sometimes and your passion. If you don't possess that it factor that no one can teach you and you can't develop it, it's just who you are and your genetic makeup, then you ain't gonna go but so far. See? You see? And so it's you know, and you got to be very careful when we talk about things like this, because when students come in here, I want them to think that they can achieve anything they want in life. And I'm going to be behind them 100%. And if they fail, I'm going to pick them up and say, come on, because somebody dragged me to the finish line. I'm going to drag you because you're going to make it no matter what. You're not going to quit. You can fail, but you can't quit. Can't give up. But at the end of the day, if you're playing a sport, you have to have the it factor to be the elite. And even some of the basketball, football, all the different players we see, even those guys as a professional sitting on the bench, they might not be as good as some of the Michael Jordans and Kobe Bryant's, all that we hear about, but they have the it factor. See? They're still the elite of the world. The amazing part is that there's someone better than them. That's the crazy part. And so if you don't have that, you know, in sports, it just doesn't work, because you know, you're competing against someone that's better or as good as you, and they have the it factor. So if you don't have it, how do you compete?
Yeah. Mr. Dabney, what was your it factor?
Mine was I didn't like people telling me that I couldn't achieve something. So mine was a mental thing, chip that I carried for a long time. And it was like, you know, I mean, all my life, you're small, you're shy, you're this, you're that. And when I broke through that, that was just fuel. Yeah. As soon as I broke through, that was fuel. Okay. So that was the thing on that. Once I got to that level, I was like, well, there's zero stopping. I mean, that was how I got to school. That was how I earned everything. That was how I got my, you know, so everything I've done was because I had a list. They say, well, you know, I had a guy tell me one time, he goes, well, you're not going to be a karate instructor because of A, B, and C. And I was like, well, why would you say that? He was like, well, karate instructors have to carry this and they have to be able to do that. And he was like, well, you know, you don't naturally have those things. So I did it. You know, my friend said, well, you're not going to be a top fighter because of this. Well, I did it.
Yeah.
You know, well, you're not going to win a title. So I did it. You know what I mean? So mine was a drive of that mental, I'm going to do that, you know?
I mean, that's really cool, because a lot of people in society say you can't do it. You can't do it.
Right.
A lot of people also say, okay, fine, I can't do it. I can't do it. But again, to be that 3% and get there is just amazing.
Right.
Yeah. And again, I was trying to say this earlier, but
okay,
the mindset that you carry was you got to face against politics, right? You got, because technically the people that say that also have bias in their mind.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to be a competitor, I mean, they have politics in all sports. It is what it is. You can't change it. It's been there for a long time. It's a group that's been there for a long time that want to see certain groups that's helped them personally achieve. And, you know, in order to stay at that level, I mean, you know, you make some decisions that sometimes not fair. You know, that's hard because we all see it in all sports. You know what I mean? And it's not going to, unfortunately, it's not going to change. Yeah, it's part of it. And if you're not strong enough to understand that, like I had a good coaching team and it was like, look, you got to realize that at some point in your career, you're going to get to a level where they're going to ask you to lose because this next guy is coming up. And if he gets off course, then the sport might not get at the level that they can. So we need him because he's a better selling market. I mean, he sells better in the market. He's got this it thing, but he could get knocked off if he's not very careful. But if he gets to a certain level, and then he's able to create some money or create some finances in there, like look at what Tiger Woods did to golf. Nobody was making that much money until him. Now everybody's come behind him is benefiting off that. So imagine if he was coming through and there was a tournament that if he would have won, they would have put it up here, right? Yeah, you would have been like, you know what? You need to miss this one. You need to let him win. Because if you do, you're going to be able to earn $10 more million in another year by doing that because he needs to be the one that we're marketing to get that money. So that happens in all sports.
Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, it happens all the time. Happens to everybody. You're going to get to a certain level. Oh, yeah. It's part. Yeah, if you don't like that part, don't do it.
Well, what if you do win over him? What happens then?
They have their ways of putting roadblocks in front of you where you don't succeed the way that you want to. They control everything you do, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, the boxing commission and the people that are the promoters, they control everything. So if they don't give you a fight, what are you going to do? You can't go fight until you sign a contract, until they agree on a financial part that you're going to get. So if they don't agree on it, you don't fight. Don't care. Okay. Yeah, don't care. Yeah.
That makes sense on the idea of.
Yeah, you can't do it yourself. No matter if I wanted to compete against someone, I say, well, they ask you to ring. Who do you want to challenge next because you're doing good? It doesn't matter what I say. If they say no, then it's no. It's nothing you can do. Yeah. So you got to realize that you don't control anything anyway. Yeah. They control everything that you do.
Yeah, and that makes sense on that you can't do whatever you want to do because there's always people watching.
It's always going to be roadblocks. It's always going to be there.
Okay. Yeah, and if people really don't want you to win, you're not going to win.
Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy because you can have the skill, but now you just can't win.
Yeah, you get the roadblocks in there, something can happen. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to it.
Yeah. And hands off to you. Like you still continued. I mean, you just had that passion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. What does no mean? You just knock again?
Yeah. And I guess honestly, I think that's something to do with your age, like how young you started.
Yeah, and that's why I tell students now, I mean, if you can get started in a sport that you can build that confidence, that discipline, and that drive, and that focus early, then it helps because you're going to run into roadblocks. You got to be able to get past them, and things happen in life. You know what I mean? People get sick, illness happen. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to get your mindset that you can just drive through, whether it's homework or whether it's dealing with your sisters and brothers. Yeah.
And that kid that made you realize that you needed to know kickboxing when you were a kid, did you ever have a moment where you were with another kid and now you had to?
Oh yeah. It always gets to there. Yeah, you're always passing down. You're always passing knowledge down to somebody as you go.
Like, have you ever had a street fight like that? Like a confrontation on a?
I've had a few confrontations. Yeah. There are some go good, some go bad. You know what I mean? But they're scary, and you'd be surprised that even though you prepare, you're unprepared for the street because there are no rules, and if somebody attacks you, sometimes they have already planned to do it when you just was going to the store to buy something. You come out and now you get attacked. So it could be 2 against 1. I mean, so many variables are in there. People think because you take karate, you're black belt, you can defend yourself, but that is not true at all.
Have you ever been knocked out?
I've been knocked out 4 times.
4 times. 4 times in the ring, or 4 times on the street? 4
times in the ring. 4 times in the gym training. Yeah, knocked out 4 times.
Knocked out
out.
Oh wow, that's scary.
Oh.
That's scary.
Yeah, very scary. Very. Yeah.
And I mean, the moments that you had on the street, were you always unprepared, or were you at times prepared?
Well, you got to think about it like this: you're never prepared for the street.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you say all the time, there's always bad people in a group of good people.
Always bad. Right. Mm-hmm.
So in some way or form, because I know that when I go out, my brother says he sees colors when he looks at people. Like maybe he sees red to somebody that maybe doesn't give off that good of a
that vibe. Right. Right.
So I'm not psychic or anything, but I
Yeah. You can reveal now. Guess what?
see like if I drive past this truck, is that a good idea or not? Like,
Right.
could they put me in their trunk? And at times, maybe that did save my life at times. Maybe I don't go biking by myself in the middle of the night.
Sometimes it's just, some good intuition. Sometimes if you feel that vibe, most of the time it's telling you the truth. You got to listen to it. A lot of people discredit it or don't pay attention to it. And so because of that, they get stuck off guard because, I have a lot of friends that have retired from the military, special forces stuff, and knowing them for over 40 years, that was one of the things that they would always teach me. They go, the thing about it, even as a special forces guy that's trained to do it, we get caught off guard. And that's all we do is defend. And we get caught off guard. So if they're getting caught off guard, how do you think somebody like me and you're going to get caught off guard, right? When that's a professional doing it, and we're doing it to protect ourselves, but they're doing it on a level where it's it could get real bad real fast, and they get caught off guard. And that's when I learned that you're never prepared.
And those
you can react and get there, but it's not like you're every day you're walking out your house prepared. Yeah.
But those bullies that did confront you at your school, did you ever teach them their lesson?
Yeah. Yeah, that happened a lot.
Really? Like, what happened?
Not in a bad way, but just couple little confrontations because they would try you, and then once I started getting in the paper as an amateur competitor, then they were like, "Do you really know karate? Let's see." So, but I had a good instructor, so I learned just to, if I can talk my way out of it, you know what I mean? If I can do a little bit where, nobody's going to get hurt, would be cool. And you know what? The funny part was that's all it took. Like, that was the weird part. I was like, I thought you guys actually wanted to fight me. When they would throw a couple of punches, I would block and kind of push them off, and they would stop from there. I was like, yeah. I mean, you don't really want to fight. Yeah. And plus how I carried myself, they knew that their confidence was there. So they was like, you know what? He's way too calm. He's not even worried about us doing what he's doing. So there must be something there.
Yeah. And that's a key thing. Like, even if you are scared, you can't show that you're scared.
That's the big part right there.
Yeah, never. And I actually have a story.
Okay.
Yeah. So one time, we're in like a new neighborhood where it's like there's a lot of construction going on.
Right.
Yeah. And like you said, there's always bad people everywhere.
Everywhere.
So one day, right after the summer where me and my friends all got together, we're going on a run in the morning, okay? And this was happening like weekly, okay? And every morning at like it would still be bright, so like 9 a.m. we would go on a run. And one day in the afternoon, I just drank a little bit of lemonade, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I want to exercise. I'm just gonna go on a run. So I went on a run, and then on my way, it was like a cul-de-sac, and then I went out of the cul-de-sac into the cul-de-sac.
Right. To
Yeah, and then there was construction going on in my street. So when I came back in, a car was sitting on the driveway of the new house that was being built, and I was just running by, and I was just jogging, and I was literally right near, like, maybe like 10 more seconds, and I'd be at my house.
Okay.
He honked at me. And then I was like, hi, because it was just polite. Like,
right, you said right, yeah.
And maybe there's something in my way. Maybe there's honking to tell me to get out. Maybe there's a squirrel or something. And I was like, and then I went home and I was like, wait a minute. There was nothing in front of me. I'm just running by myself. Why would they honk at me? And I was like, oh, I'm running by myself and they honking at me. And I went home and I told my parents, and they were like, why'd you run by yourself? But
right, yeah.
I told my parents, but apparently they didn't hear. So that was another dangerous part of it. Yeah. And then The next morning, we went on another run together, and now it was to the point where they would scream out and say, "Hey, hey," and we'd be like, "Okay, okay, yeah."
Because two things happened. One, they could have been friendly because it's a new neighborhood, they're moving in, and they're saying, you know what, there are kids here, they're out running. Let's show that we're nice. Hey, how you doing? We're going to be the new neighbors, and it could have been friendly.
Oh no, it was the workers. It was the
But yeah, and then the other part of it, yeah. Workers are, yeah, and again, they could have been friendly, but overall, when you look at something like that, you know, the first thing what the first thing should have came to your mind was that one, I'm a 12-year-old that's running.
Yeah.
Not like I'm not 22, I'm 12. So there's zero reason to interact with me at my age, whether I look 14 or whatever. Still too young to be interacting with what you're doing. So that's number one bad sign right there. Yeah, that means you go home and you avoid that at all times, and you tell your parents so they can be aware too, or maybe say something. The neighborhood also have to be aware when things happen like that, to help out.
And it was so my group is like a bunch of the people in our neighborhood, and it's multiple people. So I mean, all our parents got notified after this. So
yeah, you should. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you said a few days ago when we met up, that there's bad people everywhere.
Everywhere.
And that's why every time we still go on walks around here in my neighborhood, there's no like problem.
Yeah.
But when we do go, I'm the first one to think when there's a car driving by and they wave. I'm the first one to think. I don't say it out loud because I mean I don't want to be like the overprotector.
Right, yeah.
If they turn around right now, where are we gonna go?
Where are you gonna go? Right, and already have a plan, because that's when you get caught off guard. Is that, like you said, you're going, okay, car just passed us, maybe they honked. Okay, we're a group of girls just kind of having fun, but someone honked us. Now, if they turn around, instead of panicking, you've already figured out a couple ways you can escape, or where you could go, or where you could hide, or whatever. And if the rest of the girls are not doing that, that's when things get hectic.
You don't have a plan. I'm gonna take on like a full grown man.
Right.
Like, no.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. No.
Yeah. So, and the good thing about my neighborhood is that there's a lot of like ways to go. And the thing about like on the streets is that sometimes there's not a lot of ways to go. There's like
right.
Yeah.
And the other part is knowing your neighborhood. So if you do have to run, you know where to go to kind of throw somebody off, and hopefully they won't know the neighborhood as well as you. You know what I mean? Once you get out of sight, or once you take a turn a little bit, maybe they will, stop because they don't know where they're going. Or they could think that you're running for help. I mean, they don't know.
Yeah, also that's where the intuition comes in. Because sometimes, I mean, multiple times on multiple occasions, we're going on a walk and it dawns. So, like, it, not dawns, but like the sun goes down.
Right. Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, and now we're still not on our way back home. And maybe a car drives by or something. And I mean, I've seen this in movies multiple times, but this is a really creepy one. But like, it was like a serial killer, and he like has people in his garage. And every time I walk by this one house, that's all I can think of.
Right.
And it's just intuition at times.
But it makes you aware, and that's the only thing, is that it makes you aware. Versus someone else could walk by and go, "Oh, that's that," and not think about it. I mean, and that's the thing. Most people get attacked because they're not thinking that those things could happen. The people that avoid it are the people that are thinking that it could happen, and so your antennas go up, right? So you're alert. You're a lot more alert during that time, and that's what you have to be. And a lot of people, they're not. I mean, people get attacked all the time. Sometimes the attacker is just slick and they catch them off guard, but most of the time it's from people just not paying attention. Yeah, not paying attention.
It's either the people that are really competitive or really careless.
That's it right there. And most competitive people, they pay attention.
Yeah. And you are the father of 2 girls. So
yes.
Have you ever had any experiences like that where it was scary?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, me and my little one, we've been into a couple situations where, where I had to explain to her that, these things could happen and we're in a bad situation, and you need to do like this. Yeah, I mean, we've been in New York into a couple of really bad spots where I've even thought that I was going to have to do something. Like I was like, oh wow, like I'm like you think about it, but then have to know one time that you're going to really have to do it. So we got to a point where I was like, I had to say, hey, these things are going to go down. If this happens to me, I need you to run this way, whatever. So it was, luckily we avoided it and we made some verbal, contact with it. But, again, if I wouldn't have carried myself the right way, we probably would have got attacked because it was there. Yeah, it was 100% there.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to India. And we don't live we have two kind of areas, like my mom's side and my dad's side. So,
Okay.
I mean, we don't live in the best part of town, but we don't live in the worst part of town.
Right.
And people were always roaming the streets at all hours, in
Yeah.
the middle of the night, and there's gonna be somebody right there.
Right.
So, especially being a kid, if I were to go on a run on my street in India, that would not have been good.
Is it dangerous?
It's very dangerous because for one, there's cars going everywhere. On all of the small roads, there's cars.
Right.
Also, just people everywhere. So there's going to be a person right, so
it's busy where you know that if you're out, something can happen, and there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah, and like you said, in the majority, there's always a minority. So the majority of where we live could have been a good place, but the fact that we weren't in the best place and so
it could take that one person.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it for today's episode of Stay Sane. Thank you for watching.
She steady dripping Sailor on. She got the perfect face.